Hello and welcome to Women Empowerment Edition Impact for Change. The purpose for the podcast is to provide the space for women to share their stories in an inspiring way to help impact and inspire other women. Now, today's guest is one of the remarkable women that I've ever met. She's a mother of three and she is an entrepreneur who is seeking to make in fact she is making a huge impact in people's life. Please help me welcome the amazing Angela Campos. Angela.
Hi.
Hi, Angela. Welcome in Women
Hi,
Empowerment
thank you.
Edition.
Glad to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for accepting to be on my podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's absolutely a pleasure. So, before we start up, Angela, why don't you tell us a little bit about you and what you do?
Well, I'm Angela, and as you said, I'm a mother of three. Um, and some days it feels like I do a bit of everything, really. But currently, I run a business I've co-founded called Enchanted Occasions. It's about children's parties, basically. We focus on sleepover tents, balloons, party activities. We turn up at fairs and markets and do things like glitter tattoos and face painting. So, a lot of fun. And really the idea for me and for my business partner is we want to see children happy. Basically, that's the goal here.
So, what inspired you to start your business?
I am back. Something happened.
It's okay. So, Angela, what inspired you to do your business?
I think a few different things inspired me. To start out, I did not start in this business. I have tried many different things in the past. Business, in
Mm-hmm.
fact, has been part of my life since I was 6, 7 years old. Not because my parents were in business, neither of them were, but simply because I wanted to be in business. So, as
Wow.
a young child, I wanted to sell stuff to people. I just wanted that. I don't know. I wanted to do something for myself by myself from a very
Wow.
young age, and I did several different things.
Mhm.
From selling fruit from my parents' garden, I would climb the trees myself and pick it and sell it.
Oh, wow.
To yeah, it was good fun. To selling things like diaries. My dad would sometimes bring home these boxes of diaries from his work that they couldn't. It was like work branded stuff that they hadn't been able to give away or whatever, and I'd sell them to teachers in school. Um, and, and then as an adult, as time went on, I started doing little things like custom jewelry and things like that as a teenager and selling that, so arts and crafts and things like that. Um, Eventually, getting to this point in time, I realized about I would say 10 years ago, I most definitely did not want to be an employee my whole life. I wanted to have something that I could call my own, that I would build, that I was responsible for, and that nobody else could decide whether I was good enough, bad enough, whatever enough. So I started really putting time and effort into it. I got into this particular business because I do really, I have 3 children of my own, and I do really want to do something that involves children. It's always been something that is a passion of mine. And I just happened to find the right person to do it with as well. So I met my business partner, and we were both in that same sort of mentality. And to be fair, so things like the sleepover tents were her idea. So we just kind of
Wow.
got together, it worked, and we went from there, you know.
Wow, it seems like you started the journey of entrepreneurship quite very early in a stage. Because I remember at that time I wasn't even thinking of I was like thinking playing like who would think like selling things, you know? Even though the fact the idea was like the business and getting into business was like fascinating for me. It was like just playing, as you say, like, climbing trees and climbing walls. It was it was something else. So that was really, really inspiring, for young girls like growing up, having that idea. And I think that will really build the personality you have right now, right?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think there were two things I sort of remember. One of the things was I wanted the cash. Let's just be honest. I wanted to make money.
Everyone
But
love money.
there we go. But I also really found it interesting that exchange
Mm,
of something for cash. So as from a very young age, I remember looking around me and thinking, what could I do that I could sell? How could I turn something into money? It was just something that I found really interesting. My mother says maybe it's my grandmother's side of the family. My grandmother was always into some business or another. Now I don't remember this because by the time I was around, she had stopped working. But that's
mm.
what my mum says. So I do wonder: is there a little bit of genetics in it? Who knows?
Who knows? Absolutely, who knows? That's a really, really inspiring story, Angela. And I know during this journey of entrepreneurship, of you selling things, of doing things, and I'm sure you have encountered a lot of challenges, over along the ways. And you have overcame those challenges. So tell us about that. Tell us about the journey that you had. Tell us about how you overcame those challenges.
Um, as a young child, you don't tend to see the challenges as such. Life is simple, isn't it? And
Mm,
you, even if there are challenges, you don't realize there are challenges because it's all you know. I did not have a difficult childhood in the sense that nothing's lacking, apart from maybe at times uh, some love and attention, but materially, materialistically, there was nothing lacking. My family had plenty of money. We would go on holidays. And it was only when I started my own life with my own children and I realized the very first thing that was lacking in a sense very quickly was time. I wanted
mm,
time. I wanted time for me, time for my family. And as time went on working for someone else, that just didn't seem to exist. I worked as a nurse in care homes. I worked 12-hour shifts. I was out of the house for 14 hours at a time, quite often 4 or 5 times a week. At one point, I was doing 7 shifts in a row.
mm,
So there's no time. All your energy and your time is put into building someone else's business, which in a sense that is it. And there's nothing wrong with that. Being an employee is absolutely fantastic. There are many, many, many reasons to be one, and the world wouldn't go around without people working for other people. It's just part of life. But I
mm,
wanted more than that. So as time went on, my biggest challenge then became juggling that lack of time. And it got to a point where around 8 years ago, I went into complete burnout. My
mm,
mental health just crumbled underneath my feet and I could not function anymore. And it was a really, really tough time in my life, um, sort of trying to understand that I had to take a step back and that I had to find ways of looking after myself. I'm still finding ways to look after myself still
mm,
now. Um, because like I say, I just could not even function anymore. That I would say was and still is, because like I said, I'm still working it out. My biggest challenge that I've needed to overcome. There has been a lot of issues in the middle of
Mm,
that, because of how I became sort of my mental health became. I ended up uh, in an abusive relationship for a while and had to sort of work that out as well. But
mm.
all the while this is going on, at the back of my mind is still business is something I want to do. Um, there was never doubt. This is what I want. This I want to build something. I want to leave something that I can call my own.
Wow, wow, what's inspiring. Wow, I mean, like listening from you, like every time you watch, just inspired me, and it really amazed me because the journey, because I know everybody's journey is different and everybody's story is different,
Yeah,
but your journey, when I listen to your story, it just it ignite that kind of inspiration, within me, and wanted me even to do more. Like I was like, damn, this woman working so hard. Like I need to work even more harder. I need to work even more harder. And the challenges that you said you have overcame, you know, you worked as an employer, you worked yourself up until you exhausted yourself. And I'm
yeah,
sure most of women, out there, they are doing the same. They doing day to day, like they're working their ass off, like 14 hours a day, like 20 hours a day, and how many shifts. And that can be, as you say, mentally drained, mentally drained.
yeah.
And the starting of what you would say the first step for a woman, or even for yourself, what the first step that you did when you felt that you mentally that you can't take it anymore, and in your back and your mind, yes, I am an entrepreneur, yes, I want to do business, I want to have my own business. But what's the first step that you took when you are in that, you know mental, when you're going through the mental challenges?
That is an excellent question. At the time, I took steps without realizing I was taking steps, because I was really, when I say I was burnt out, I was burnt out. And my first step was sleep. The first thing that happened, and this was because of the burnout, but also because my mental health was really down, and I had left that abusive relationship. I was, taking steps to rebuild my life with two young children at the time. Now I've got my third. Um, and at one point, I was sleeping for 20 hours a day. My body just needed to rest. It got to a point where my body was so starved of rest, it just had to rest. It's funny you were saying about working harder. And yes, sometimes we do need to work harder. Of course, we do. There are times in life. But I'm actually working hard at finding out how to work less hard at the minute, because I know I need to find that balance. Then I I started fresh at the time after leaving that relationship. I started in a completely new town, in a completely new country, actually. And the second thing I realized I was doing kind of naturally was looking for connections, looking for
Mhm.
people around me, looking for a support network, making friends, basically. Not to do with business, just I just wanted to find connections. And that was most definitely that rest and the connections with people, most definitely the two pillars that I rebuilt my life upon. Um, and the third thing was a little bit out of my control, but at the time, my oldest son was really struggling. Later on, he was diagnosed as autistic and ADHD.
Mm.
But at the time, he hadn't been diagnosed yet, and we were all trying to find out what is going on with him. He was just struggling in school. He was being sent home all the time. So at the time, I also made the decision that I had to stop my job, and I was just going to have to find a way to make life work without being employed because I couldn't possibly have enough hands and hours and heads to deal with all of it. So I cut down. I cut down on everything, even business at that time. I cut down, right down, and I rested and I made connections. And I would say from those two, I was able then to pick things up. And slowly, it took time. It took a long time, and it took a lot of ups and downs. We naturally have ups and downs as humans, it's part of life. But when you're in that place where your mental health is really affected, those ups and downs can be so complicated to navigate. Oh, and I asked for help. That's the other thing. I asked for help and
Mm.
I took all the help that came my way that I could cope with. I found the organizations that would help me. I talked to people. I'm still in touch with a lot of these people. But also, for example, at the time when I left an abusive relationship, one of the people I got in touch with was Women's Aid, and they helped me a lot through that process. And then I wanted to give back, so I helped them run craft groups for other women to have a space to talk. So giving back as well, even from a place where you don't have a lot, but if you give back that little bit that you can, that was huge for me because then I didn't feel like I was just taking, I was also giving. So that made a big difference for me as well.
Wow. Wow. You have shared a great advice for women that they are going, through maybe similar challenges, maybe they're overwhelmed with work. Maybe they get to the point where they're going through a tough mental issues or mental health. These advice are so valuable because I remember I had to like cut off, like I had to like cut off, like cut people. Like you make connection. I had to cut all the toxic people out. And it came time I was like, yes, I can relate to her because it came time also I was sleeping a lot. Like and I can sleep from 9 in the morning until next day 9 in the morning. Like there is nothing can stop me. And that can it can benefit you from somewhere, but it can also can affect you in other way, you know. But the word you shared, the advice that you have given is actually very helpful in overcoming that challenge that you have actually gone through and you have basically evolved and you strive and you just flourish from it. So, speaking of overcoming, because it's a very interesting word. I kept thinking about it quite a lot. So, speaking of overcoming, when you think of the word itself, overcoming, what comes in your mind? Like what the word overcoming means to
To me, it means to take that step, to take that step that takes you into something better, that takes you beyond your troubles and your difficulties. Now,
you.
does it mean that we are going to overcome sometimes once and for all? It's a lifelong journey. We are constantly facing challenges and
Mm.
overcoming them. We are constantly facing difficulties and constantly finding ways of becoming stronger than them. It's growth. Basically, overcoming is growth.
Mm.
It's when
Mm.
you encounter that challenge and it's difficult and it's hard, but you keep looking, you keep finding ways, you ask for help if you need to, because again, there is nothing wrong with asking for help. You take the steps that you need to take That could be, like you said, cutting down people that don't work for you anymore, however hard that may be. It could be finding new people. It could be a whole host of things, learning a new skill. It's it's taking the steps necessary to grow and to become
Mm.
better.
Did you find that in yourself when you start connecting with people, when you start, you know, communicate with people, when you start giving back?
I did. I didn't realize sometimes I did it consciously and other times I did it kind of subconsciously. My
Mm.
mind took me in that direction in a sense. So I
Mm.
didn't always realize that's what I was doing. But yes, I found that all these steps I've taken, and sometimes making mistakes as well. So sometimes you take a step that doesn't work, but you learn from it and you do better next time. The very little I have discovered, very little in life is permanent. So long as you're living and breathing, you can try again. And time, as they say, is a great healer. And if you give enough time to something sometimes, that's enough to help. Sometimes you don't need to do much. In fact, as I was saying before, I needed to do a lot less. So sometimes all you need is to give it enough time to build. The small things sometimes build beautiful, huge results. So yeah, I did find that that's what I was doing. I was taking those steps and taking that learning to become better and to overcome those challenges.
And how is that really? I'm not gonna say affect because I don't like that word. How is that by you doing these things impacted in your life, like mentally, emotionally? How is that impacted you in your life?
At the end of the day, we we have to take responsibility for these actions. So the actions there were actions that took me into a place where I wasn't well, and then there were actions that took me into a place where I was well. Yes,
Mm.
there are external factors. There are things that we can't control. But as a whole, there is so much more that we can control than sometimes we realize. So
Mm.
I've taken these steps, and then later on, looking back and thinking, "Oh, look how far I've come," and that has had a huge impact in my life, but also a huge impact in my ability to realize that I can do it. That if something else comes my way, I will find the tools, or even I will find the people who can help me, or I will find
Mm.
the skills, whatever I need, because I've gone through really hard times before. Um, the challenge may be new, and
Mm.
every new challenge seems more difficult because new, because you don't know, initially you don't know what you're going to do. But then when you look back and you think, I love this sort of quote that says something like, I have survived 100% of the challenges that have come my way. That is a pretty good track record, isn't it? So you
Very.
will. It's great. So you will find ways. And sometimes you discover that actually that challenge, that thing that you're trying to overcome, do you have to overcome it? Or could you just accept it and carry on? Sometimes that's the case. Sometimes all you have to do really is say, it's okay like this. Let's move on with life. Um, yeah, all of these things have had a huge impact. And I would like to think that through my learning, I'm also taking it and having an impact into other people's lives by sharing these experiences and um, helping people in some way.
Well, yeah, definitely. Women who's going through challenges, maybe similar to yours, they will definitely gonna relate to it, to your story, to what you share, and inspire them. Hopefully, inspire them to go and take the steps that you took, toward the change in the life. And I think it's all about self awareness and self acknowledgement. So I think
Yeah.
it's when you are aware of the challenge, where when you're like aware. Speaking of awareness, were you aware of your feelings at that time during the challenges? Were you like aware of how your mood is being a swing, how you react to things, how you say your behavior change, and
Um, when it depends on what challenge. When I was burnt out and had, really heavy mental health um, problems going on, I wasn't so much aware. That was something that I worked on a lot since then. Um, so I could feel something was wrong, but that was pretty much as far as it went. My capacity to understand it and to put that awareness into it was just not there. Um, as an example, for that 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 relationship I mentioned, for the longest time, I didn't realize it was abusive, and it was only after things starting to get worse and worse that I asked for someone's advice, and then that created the awareness. So the awareness didn't come from me as such.
mm,
Um, but with other things, and especially since I've been rebuilding my life since then, I've I've worked a lot on awareness. Awareness is something that I realize is quite essential for growth,
mm,
because I would say you can grow if you're not aware, but you're not going to grow as much or as intentionally as if you become aware of what you are going through. So I have worked on awareness quite a lot the last few years, and I do find that when challenges come, I now find it a lot easier to say, hold on a minute, let's stop a moment, let's look at it. Okay, this is a challenge. Right, this is good. Challenges are good. Let's figure it out. Because sometimes you're so in it. It's so easy to spot challenges in other people's lives, isn't it? Because you're so in it.
so easy, but when you going through, oh my lord. Mm-mm.
No, that's right. And you have to. I think that's part of awareness is that ability to take a step back and look at it from another point of view. And that takes practice. That takes a lot of practice. So because I mean, life is busy. Come on, let's just say, face it, life is busy, and you're in and out and day in and week in and whatever, and it's having the time to pause. And I would love to do it, but at the time, I am not like meditating every day or something like that. It's useful, it's great, but it's not something I'm doing right now. But I can see how people need it, that pause, just that moment to be able to look back,
Mm.
look in, and say, is everything okay? What is actually going on? Because it's so easy to miss. So easy.
It's absolutely true. My goodness, you throwing diamond today. Throwing that. We're gonna enjoy this. I mean, like I'm learning a lot. Like I'm learning a lot because when you speak, it's just it trigger all the memories, like everything that I've went through, the challenges that I've
Mm,
went through in my life and how I handle it because every person handle it differently.
yeah.
But when they have that self-awareness, as you said, that will become a huge difference, a huge game changer in their lives. That can change their life in a way, like 180 degree. And sometimes it depends on the challenge, as you say, because some challenge is different. Some challenge
Yes.
and they just do change you, and make you grow. So, what would you say that just one challenge that you may have gone through, actually, you have gone through that you think that have changed the way you see things in life? Maybe one, because I know you have so many.
Yeah, I was thinking, that relationship,
Mm,
that abusive relationship I went through,
mm,
that most definitely changed the way I view things in life. Most definitely.
mm,
Um, One thing, for example, and I'll give you that example, and it's something that I've worked on being kind to myself because,
mm,
again, I think that's really important is to recognize that when you're going through challenges,
mm,
um, kindness goes a long way. And it's just you are going through it and that's it. To beat yourself up on top of it is just not going to help. But one thing that I realized was before I went through what I went through, I was one of those people who thought, if a woman is in an abusive relationship, why don't they just leave? And then I realized it does not work like that. It really does not work like that. So that profoundly, at the time when I first sort of ended it and moved away, and it was really hard. And eventually, as years went on, I realized I wouldn't want to go through it again. I wouldn't want anybody to go through it. But I realized how valuable it was in terms of my learning, in terms of me understanding things. And it has
mm,
definitely changed me as a person for many reasons. But most importantly, it has given me an insight and an ability to empathize with people who are going through something like that.
mm,
That I just didn't have it before because I'd never gone through such an experience. So how could I, you know? So all these challenges, the most horrific challenges that people can go through, they, if if we work on understanding them, I suppose, and building from them, they will make us into better people. Most definitely, they will make us into people who are more understanding of other people's challenges. I think that the trick here is not to become bitter, because some people do. Some people, unfortunately, when they go through a massive challenge like this, they become bitter towards life. And that, again, it doesn't work because if you're bitter towards life, you're bitter towards yourself. You know, it's it's not. But
true.
if you find that place of peace and even love with that experience, that can be absolutely game changing, and you will not be the same person. I hear people say, I just want to feel like me again. But the thing is, you are not the same person you were before that challenge. You have changed. You have to feel like the new you. You've got to stop looking for the old you because the old
Mm,
you isn't there anymore.
that is so true. That is so true. Because I hear people, that around me when they go through challenges, I wish, I want to go back. Once all I overcome this, I want to go back to where like before. And
Mm,
you're right. Nothing will go back as before because otherwise that challenge never exists. Like it never came anyway to you if
exactly.
you want to stay the same. So that challenge came in your life to make you evolve, to make you transition, to make you grow to the person who you're supposed to be. Because every challenge comes with, with its own say blessing. That's what I said. Blessing. Sometimes some challenges can make you cry, howl, like absolutely like
Yeah.
mentally drained, but we have to like accept it, as you say, it change you and it change the way you see things and it make you feel different
Yeah.
and it make you accept things different as well.
Yeah.
Did it make you like easy accept like your life, and were you like at peace with new you, like every time you come out of challenge like I feel different. I feel something change within me. Like,
Mm.
oh, I feel something change within me. Do you feel that every time you come out of any challenge?
I think it takes time. Uh, I would say the moment I realized, let's put it in other terms, the moment I felt human again was
Mm,
only about 6 years after the whole thing went on. It took me a long time, and through it all, sometimes I was more accepting, sometimes I
mm,
was fighting against it, and wishing that it never happened. And it, you can believe challenges come for a reason, or you can believe they just come. It doesn't matter. They came. What matters then is what are you going to do with it? And I think it took me a long time of healing and um, talking to people, making connections, resting, a long time to feel human again. And then I was able to say, I am not the same person I was before, but I'm okay with it. I'm happy with the person I am now.
mm,
With um, every challenge, I wouldn't say that necessarily I take that consciously because some challenges are, I suppose, bigger than others, and some take longer than others to overcome. And sometimes you go through it and you're out the other end, and life goes on, or another challenge comes on top, or you know. So I wouldn't say every single time, but
mm.
I would say with with these last sort of big challenges I've had, most definitely, I have felt that I became a different person, and eventually the day came, which is why I said, time is good. Give time, as they say. Um, Eventually, I was not just conscious that I was different, but I was happy that I was different, and I was at peace with it. And I think that's just, there are still things in my life I'm not at peace with. There are still things in my life I struggle with. Every day comes a challenge, but there are things that I can specifically look back at and say, that's good. That's okay now. That's worked. I'm happy with that.
Wow, you're absolutely right. I mean, I can absolutely relate because some challenges can take a long time. And as you say, the most important thing I think you gave right now that, basically accept it, accept the new you, be at peace with it. That acceptance and that awareness can be a huge, huge difference because I know women, they're fighting this, when they come in a challenge, they like clash, like they're fighting. It's like they are fighting a World War III within them. Like they, instead of accepting them, accept the challenge, be at peace, try and figure out, as you said, how we can deal with it, to be able to progress. And do you think also having a positive mindset, that can also help, to overcome the challenge?
Yeah, yeah, it definitely can help. And something they're doing a lot with children in school nowadays, a growth mindset. So that idea that we are not born with all the skills that we're going to have through life, that also helps overcome challenges because when you think that you can't do it because you weren't born that way, that's extremely limiting.
Mm,
So I think, I wasn't brought up that way. It wasn't a thing then, but I am really happy to see that for my children, that's now part of their school life, and that teachers and schools put a lot of work into helping children understand that they can grow and that they are growing constantly. And that means not just physically, but also mentally.
Mm.
You know, and I think that idea that we grow and that positive mindset, it's hard sometimes because, you know, negative things happen and you've got to honor them. You've got to feel the feelings and allow them to go through you. And but if you do it from a place of, I suppose, love rather than when you're going through it and on top of that you're beating yourself down because you're going through it, because a lot of people do that. I've done that. I probably sometimes still do that because, you know, you go again, you are going through it. It's so much easier when it's a friend, and you do not do the same, you not speak the same way to a friend that you do to yourself, isn't it?
That is true.
So it's to have that, which is why I think it's so important to take that step back, to have that ability to take a step back and be like, okay, I'm going through this, but you know, let's see how I can go through this. How can I help me? How can I do the best for towards myself and for myself as well as because we can be so good at being there for other people and helping other people. And that is in itself really useful when you go out and you serve other people. That can also make you feel better. So there's nothing wrong with that. But then you've got to remember to be good to you as well, not just other people.
Mm. That is absolutely the, the advice that you're being given today. I mean, like, I'm out of words. Like, women who's listening to this, or will listen to this, they will definitely gonna get inspired by this. They will definitely gonna get inspired by this because in nowadays we want to help each other. Women want to have that kind of feeling that yes, I'm not alone, and I can there is someone else who's gone through what I am going through, and the advice that they give is very valuable. The advice you share today is very very valuable and the story you share is absolutely inspiring. So what would you say to women who are going through challenges or overcoming challenges?
I'd say, first of all, keep going. Um, Regardless of what keeping going means. Because sometimes, like you said, for example, you had to cut off people from your life. So it's not about keeping going in a direction that hurts you, but about keeping going in yourself and giving time to whatever actions you take to to produce a result. I would say again, a lot of the time we don't realize how much we need rest until it's too late.
Mm,
So rest is really important as women, and you know, especially if you've got a job and a business and a family and God knows what else, trying to keep a semblance of a social life in the middle of it all. You forget then that your time to have a moment to rest, and not just because rest is and sleep is important, but also because without that moment of quiet, you can't hear yourself. And if you can't hear yourself, you have no idea where you're going in a sense because you're just and I and I've been there and I sometimes still am that feeling that you're just constantly putting out fires. And it is because you're just constantly going after this and after that and after that. And there's no time to stop and think, what is going on here? So I'd say, yeah, to keep going, to rest, um, and to ask for help. I think a lot of people and women tend to be okay with it. I think men are worse than women for asking for help, aren't they? But even women do struggle and they feel weak for asking for help. Even though they do
mm,
it, they feel like it's wrong. Like I should be able to be independent. And I'm thinking the best learning I did a few years ago was there are three stages to human capacity, shall we say. At first, we are dependent. We are born dependent. We depend on everybody else around us. As children, we are dependent. That's just how life is. Eventually, we grow to become independent and we are able to rely on ourselves. But there is a third stage that a lot of people in our sort of individualistic world are forgetting about, and that's interdependence. And that is the stage we want to reach. We do not want to stop at independence. Independence is important, it's essential, but interdependence is the ability to still remain independent whilst working with others and contributing for something bigger. Interdependence builds something so much bigger and stronger than independence could ever build. And I think in our attempt to be independent, we become so focused on that independence that we stop there sometimes. And we
Mm.
do not allow other people in, but we need other people. No one is an island. We are not a rock. We need other people. And there is no shame in asking for help. And there is no shame in accepting help. And there is no shame in helping others. In fact, this is what I tell people. If someone asked you for help, you'd probably be happy they'd ask you for help. You know, quite often that's what happens. And then I tell them, so why don't you let other people help you then? Because other people are going to be happy if they help you, you know. Um, and this was something that I learned not again, I would say 5, 6 years ago, and that was really a shift in my consciousness. I would say that we need other people, regardless of what we think. We need other people. So yeah.
Wow. Well, I just want to keep listening to you and listening to your amazing advice. I never say you're remarkable for nothing because the word that comes out of your mouth is truly inspiring, truly inspiring. And it's just everything you're being said is blowing my mind right now. I think after this, I'm going to sit in a dark room just thinking about what you said and try and observe everything. And I'm sure the advice you've given today is a very valuable advice. I personally will take those advice. If any next time I come across any challenges, I go through them every single day. But now I see the challenge in a different way now. How I even overcome the challenge, it'll be different. It'll be absolutely different, Angela. So thank you so much for sharing your story and your knowledge and your wisdom with us ladies who really needs it. So if people would like to connect with you, Angela, where would they find
Right, so I can be found on Facebook. My name is Angela Campos. I am there. And also through my business would be enchantedoccasions.co.uk if that's, something that you'd like to have a look at. Or again on Facebook, Enchanted Occasions as well. Um, and if you do connect with me on my personal Facebook page and would like, any conversation or share anything, or you think I can help out, I'll try my best to. I'm very happy to share my story, and I think that if we if we keep quiet about the challenges, we lose something because other people are going through challenges, and it was only because someone shared with me, for example, that I realized I was going through an abusive relationship. So if
you?
that person hadn't shared, I could still be there. So it's if we keep quiet, things don't change, and people feel lonely when they keep quiet. So
Sure.
by all means, connect if you would like to. Um, and yeah, I'm here. I'm available.
Thank you so much, Angela. And Thank you for sharing your wisdom again. Thank you for, sharing your knowledge today with us. And the advice you've given is absolutely an incredible advice that any woman who would listen to this will take it into consideration and go and implement those advice, because those advice you're giving today, it is with it coming from somebody who's actually gone through the journey, like the walk. So I truly, truly appreciate you, truly, truly. So thank you, Angela. And overcoming the words, it can be different to anyone. You can, the way you overcome your challenge, it can be different. It depends on you, depend on your personality, it depends on how you see the challenge itself. So as Angela say, keep going. It doesn't matter how you are, keep going, just keep going. And I will share and leave Angela's contact details so you guys can contact her and message her so you can get more wisdom, from her, because I just can't have enough. Like I've known her for years now, and I just don't, it's still not enough, because that's like she is knowledge. Like I don't know what else to say. So thank you so much, Angela. Thank you for listeners. Thank you. Until next time. Bye bye.